Friday morning, that means Bob Pollock is with us from the Penn State Extension. His visit presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit him online at marcusandmack.com. And you can give Bob a call at 479-1160 or 349-WCCS if you have a question for him. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us here today. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we find at the Penn State Extension website, which is a fascinating place to be, including the Pest Watch report, which is a regular feature that they have as they follow the pest population. Pest is, well, it's defined differently, isn't it, depending upon what you're talking about?
It is.
We had the mosquito report this morning. That's a pest.
Right.
But the mosquitoes aren't really going to affect our plant life all that much. There are bugs that we know can be rather pesty and pesky. But this year, with as dry as it has been now for the last month and a half, I'm not noticing as much damage. I'm not noticing the pests as much at all.
Yeah, typically on a drier year, we'll tend to have more trouble with insects than we will diseases.
Uh-huh.
We'll still have some disease pressure because we get dew at night, and that dampness is enough to promote some disease development, but nothing like it is when we have more normal and consistent rainfall and things stay damp longer. So while we have had instances of things like downy mildew, we haven't had late blight. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And the weather patterns also greatly influence the severity of some of these pests. So a pest is, anything that's going to cause economic damage to crops, or render them unusable, or take a bite out of, the yield that we get, reduce yields, which, in turn affects the economics of everything. We're not always, and if you're a backyard gardener, you're not necessarily concerned about the economics of it. You just want enough produce to be able to process and eat. If you want to make 20 jars, can 20 jars, you want to be able to get enough yield to do that.
Yeah.
And beyond that, you may not care. But to a farmer, every tomato on that plant counts one way or another. So, but this year's been been crazy because it was so wet early, and then we just went to completely dry.
Yeah.
So now if you're not watering, you're greatly going to influence the health of the plant and the yield of the plant along the way. And like leaf hoppers and aphids and spider mites are all insect pests that tend to be more of a problem when we have drier weather. Especially mites are more troublesome in hot, dry weather.
Yeah.
And those will affect ornamental plants, shrubs, especially, and then also fruits and vegetables.
Well, the Penn State report at the Penn State Extension website does talk about particularly the bugs that get after your sweet corn.
Yes.
And
yes.
we know those. But it also mentions tomato fruit worm.
Yes.
Which is something that affects the tomato crop. It does not get into areas such as pests that get after apples or grapes or things of that nature.
There's a separate report for that.
Is there really?
Yeah.
But I didn't get a grape this year on my vines, which goes back, I guess, to the spring more so than to now.
Yes. So you probably had a frost event in the spring that just at the right time affected that.
Or the wrong time.
Killed it. Yeah, the wrong time for getting flowers and getting fruit.
I consider that to be the wrong time. But there was that. I didn't get a single grape. I noticed the neighbors' apple trees, they're not producing this
Yeah,
year at
same
all
same
either.
thing. Yep, you were
Probably
just
the same frost got them both.
it did probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the same area, and then you could probably go a mile or two in
And they're
either
fine.
direction, and yes, you would find some.
Yeah, the garden is right next to the grapevines, or just above them on the downhill, and the garden did really, really well this year, and that's a timing thing as well, isn't it?
It is.
Because we got enough moisture in May, June, and July to make up for the fact we've had none since the beginning of August.
That's right.
And here we are in the middle of September.
Yeah, so you hit those planting windows when you could, and it worked out. And just going a little bit earlier or a little bit later, it could be the other way.
Yeah.
Very, very, growing crops is very weather dependent, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. We just have to try to do the best we can, get things planted when they need to be planted or as close to that as possible, and then hope we don't have, catastrophic events in either direction to greatly affect that. So, and then our climate here is so, going from the northern part of the county to the southern part of the county.
It's a big difference.
Yes, just in this one single county. All the hills, valleys, everything, that all affects that. And we don't recognize that, unless you know people or you go to those areas, different areas, and see what's going on. You don't realize how much variability we have.
Yeah, and I live in the extreme northern portion of Indiana County, and it's much different than the southern portion of Indiana County. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so last week a portion of Indiana County was placed under drought watch, or was declared to be in moderate drought. That was the northeast portion, and so as this dry weather continues, that's going to continue to spread. And obviously, when you're thinking about its effect on lawns and on, whatever is left of the growing season for plants, it becomes a really difficult thing to grow anything without water.
It does.
But as the fall comes along, we're anticipating that at some point the rain will begin again on a regular basis, and that we'll get into something more typical. Almanac predicting a dry winter. If the almanac is correct and we don't have a ton of snow over the winter, it's going to be extra cold, they said, but not a ton of snow. Where do we make up that water? Better hope for a wet spring, eh?
Right. Yeah.
Like
another wet spring. Right. We got to get it sometime. And the more it gets put off, kicked down the road, the harder it is to get back to normal. And it makes it hard to plan to do things because there may be, this period of time in the year is typically when you need to, as far as lawns go, this is normally a good time to be doing a number of different practices there, including seeding and reseeding and dethatching and aerating. And now you can still aerate, but the problem with aerating is the ground may be so hard
you're not going to
that equipment isn't able to, take those cores out, go deep enough and take the cores out of the ground to make that work properly. So unless you can water that, loosen things up a little bit, you may have to delay that activity.
I was driving through Marion Center yesterday, and a lady was mowing our grass. But she wasn't really, because it was just a big cloud of dust and dirt coming out of her mower.
Mowing the top of the weed heads.
Yeah, it was kind of strange to see, but people really want to get out there and mow again. And I actually am going to have to mow this week because my grass is getting high, actually. But my goodness, it's really, really difficult. The overnight moisture, what I'm getting at, the overnight moisture is enough to keep that grass maybe not thriving, but living.
Right.
And growing just a tiny little bit. So probably only the second time since the beginning of August I'll have to mow this week.
which is a good thing, because then you can spend time doing other things. We used to have fall is for planting. That was a big tagline.
Yeah.
A couple decades ago, and for whatever reason, they don't push that as hard anymore. Maybe we're supposed to already know that, so we don't need reminded of it.
Or if it never rains, they know that it's not going to grow.
But, there's a lot of, plants that can be planted this time of year moving into fall, and then a lot of trees. The nurseries won't dig those till after they lose their leaves, and so that fall window for planting a number of different species is a good time to do that. But, that affects the nurseries and when they can dig, too.
Yeah.
The dry conditions. So very weather dependent, all these activities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here comes
you can
the fall.
schedule. Yeah. You can try to schedule all this stuff, have everything laid out perfectly. But then the weather makes us go to plan B, C, or maybe even D.
I always go by the neighbor's tree, which he has a tree at the end of his driveway that always turns color before every other thing and drops its leaves before every other thing. Well, it was like Tuesday it was green, Wednesday it was yellow, Thursday I didn't look, but they're probably all down by now.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the stresses that lack of moisture has on these plants, trying to get ready and prepare to go into winter dormancy period.
Yep, but that is coming too.
Yep, that'll
All right.
be here.
Well, this has been revelatory. It's Indiana in the Morning, and it's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
It's Friday morning. Coming up, Fox News just a couple of moments away from now, and then we follow with news from our WCCS newsroom with Josh, and a check of sports on the way as well.